I don't have the ruling in front of me, but says Beth, yes. You're muted.
I think you're noting the hour in the presence of a quorum.
That's like, thanks. Noting the hour in the presence of a quorum, I call the Acton Boxborough Regional School Committee to order. It is being broadcast, right, by ActonTV via the Zoom link on our website. Remember, I'm so not good at doing it without the script in front of me. Sorry, Beth.
So the meeting is being taped and it will be broadcast on the YouTube channel as well as on ActonTV.
Okay, thanks, Beth. Welcome everyone to this special meeting that we've called. I want to say a few words about the purpose of the meeting tonight and to remark on the absence of public participation. What happened last Thursday night was vulgar and inexcusable. It was a direct attack on the two Black women on our committee. Our community is continually faced with the need to denounce racism, but it's time that our committee go beyond condemnation and apology. The work to heal from this incident, as well as the countless others that have occurred in recent years, needs to be done not just by our committee, but our community as a whole. As I reflect on my own reaction to the incident and my responsibility to my colleagues in our community, I think back to one of the most powerful concepts gleaned from my SEED training. I don't know what I don't know. I need to listen and learn from the voices that represent different experiences from my own. My reading of ABRSC Kendi's book has taught me that I am a part of our racist society. It has also taught me that I am in the privileged position of being elected to make policy. Kendi states clearly that every policy and every institution in every community in every nation is producing or sustaining either racial inequity or equity between racial groups. He goes on to say that we all have the power to discriminate, only an exclusive few have the power to make policy. I recognize my power and pledge to use my position to further our school district and our community in their anti-racist journey. Since the incident, the outpouring of support from across our communities, our region, and our district has been heartening. Some people, however, have centered the conversation on themselves, so I have decided to center Evelyn and Kira's voices at this meeting. They were verbally attacked. They have been wronged, and their voices should guide the rebuilding of our committee as well as our actions going forward. I know that there are many individuals and groups who would like to voice their support for Evelyn and Kira and to denounce racism. There will be time to voice those wishes. However, in an effort to minimize any additional trauma, I have decided that we will not entertain public comment at this meeting because Evelyn and Kira's voices, as well as their needs, must remain the focus. We deeply value public participation, and our communities have a rich tradition of participation in local government. But tonight is about Evelyn and Kira's experiences and the healing our committee needs to do in order to move our important work forward. Public participation will resume at our January meeting, and in the meantime, comments can always be directed to ABRSC@abschools.org. Members will have an opportunity to make their own statements this evening, and my hope is that we can vote on a joint statement regarding our response and our plans moving forward. As we listen to each other tonight, I'd like to remind everyone of some of the ground rules we used in our SEED training. In responding to each other, I hope you'll consider the intent versus the impact of your words. We began this work this summer in order to have these difficult conversations, and we are all still learning. So,
can someone mute? I'm sorry, there's a really distracting noise. I don't know if everybody's hearing it.
I think it was Tessa's paper on the microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Sorry. Sorry. I hope you could hear most of what I said. I'll now allow members to share their statements if they desire to share them. And so if you want to share your statement, then if you could please raise your hand in the thing. Okay. Evelyn and Kira, I'm happy to give you guys your opportunity to share first. I know you're not raising your hands if you'd like to, but that's your preference. Evelyn. Sorry, Kira. I don't know. What did I say something?
I don't need to go first. I don't need to go first. I actually think I'd like to go last, if that's okay.
Yep. Evelyn, what did you want to say?
I will go first since Kira wants to go last. We can try it all together.
Okay. And then I'll allow people that have their hands raised in the participants.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak, and thanks to everyone. And public forum and to my peers on the school committee. The incident that happened last Thursday did not feel good. Although I was completely shocked in the moment. I was surprised. I was not surprised at all. As a community member for the last 8 years, I know how much hate is in this community because my kids have experienced it, and even amongst people who I call my friends. As a grown-up, the incident hit me hard. In some ways, it recentered my thinking about how issues of race in our community affects our children. Folks who know me, if you really do know me, you know I'm a glass half full person. I've spent the time thinking about the incident. And in some ways, I believe that as a human, it's often difficult to empathize when you don't walk in another person's shoes. So even though my own kids have experienced racism in many forms, even though I know others who have, in my 21 years in America, I have never really known how it truly felt to be called the N-word in your face. I'm sure God put me in this situation last Thursday to help me feel the pain of others who live this, who live through this daily. Hence, upon reflection, I have renewed my commitment to this community to continue the fight for racial justice for all kids in AB. No kid, irrespective of race, gender, sexual orientation, skin color, religion, should ever have to live through this pain. The other thing this has brought forth is the realization that a good number of people in AB refuse to accept this kind of treatment of their neighbors, friends, and peers. When Kira and I were in distress, people rallied. The support Kira and I have received has been incredible. We've heard from parents and kids from almost all grade levels. We've heard from educators, town leaders, and from folks from surrounding towns, Maynard, Harvard, Stowe, and many others. You know, change must come from the top. So my call to action is that all leaders in both towns, Acton and Boxborough, must stand up against racism, anti-Semitism, xenophobia, sexism, and all the isms. It has no place in this community. I cannot conclude this without saying a huge thank you to everyone in our community who have reached out to give me, Kira, and our family support. People I've never encountered. People from all walks of life have reached out, and my mind is blown from all the love we've received. You have included us. You have said clearly and loudly, we matter. There's some I know. So there's some I know who are thinking of us and sending us their prayers and best wishes. My heart is full of gratitude. I feel even more connected to my community than ever. My friends from outside the district asked if they could make a donation in my name to a charity. I didn't even think twice. I said the Acton Food Pantry because I feel I belong to this community. Irrespective of our skin color, the blood is always red. At the core, we are all the same. We may not always agree, but that does not make us different. We all want the same thing for this community. That all shall live to their fullest potential. So when people say, think about it before you move to Acton Boxborough, I just think about it and I say, well, when people move to Acton Boxborough, they're not thinking whether they would be accepted or not, because in America, everybody should be accepted. To those who are getting joy out of this, you motivate me to keep fighting, to keep fighting for equity, for inclusion, for diversity in our district. This fight is not over. This fight is not over. We shall fight until everybody in Acton Boxborough is feeling included. Every kid in our district is feeling the love that they need to feel. No kid is better than another, black or white. The great thing about America is that each and every one of us contribute to making it great. And when I came to this country 21 years ago with $35 in my pocket, I couldn't have imagined where life would take me. I am so grateful for every journey. I am so grateful for every life experience because it all makes me who I am today. I am a work in progress. However, I know if given the opportunity, every kid in this district will thrive. And that is what guides my work on the school committee every day. Happy holidays to every one of you. God bless us all. God bless America. And at AB Strong, we shall prevail. This too shall pass. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Evelyn. All right, in our thing, I saw that. All right, let's see. Amy, would you like to go?
Wow. Okay. Evelyn, thank you so much for those words. So I'm going to read what I wrote because I'm normally very comfortable speaking off the cuff and saying all kinds of things, but this time I wanted to hopefully maybe get it right. So Thursday night, I witnessed an attack that shook me to my core. I've never seen such a disgusting, vile, hateful assault on another human being, much less two women that I truly respect and care about. Unfortunately, one thing became very clear to me. This was not the first, the second, or even the 10th time Kira and Evelyn have witnessed and been the targets of such hateful acts and words. You both, along with other Black, Indigenous people of color in our communities, must be exhausted from being forced to fight these battles alone. While words can often feel trite and insignificant, I promise you, you aren't alone. I see you. I hear you. Your voice matters. And it is essential. And I will do all within my power to support you and let you know that you don't have to keep fighting alone. So thanks.
Thanks, Amy. Nora?
I recognize that I truly cannot know what it was like for Kira and Evelyn to sit in our school committee meeting doing their work last week and view the hateful speech that was sent to all of us. Words that seek to dehumanize and shame, really to disempower any of us, will not be effective here. I will continue to listen to constructive perspectives, broadening my own views, and continuously learning. I've made that commitment. An inclusive community is a strong one when we all work to see each other as equals and understand each other. There has been some concern expressed recently that this recent racist attack has been wrongly conflated with the discussion about retiring the colonial as the school mascot. It is true that we do not know yet who is responsible for the hate speech that was messaged to the school committee. That being said, as a school committee member, the context cannot be ignored. Our unanimous decision earlier this year to retire the colonial mascot has been met by surprise and confusion by many members of our community. And hopefully it has led for others, just as it did for me, to a broader understanding of the multiple meanings that this symbol holds. Unfortunately, there also has been strong protest from a handful of persons who've been relentless in seeking to pressure a reversal of our decision. Our decision was meant to be a model for hearing multiple perspectives and demonstrating a willingness to care for and learn from each other. Unfortunately, that model has not been emulated by a few who have instead tried to own the narrative and who demand that their view be upheld as the only correct interpretation of this very complex symbol. In most cases, those who see the colonial as symbolizing liberty and bravery and many of the wonderful aspects of our nation's history have come to understand that while this is true for them, there also are other valid truths. Some who have been very vocal have taken an extreme and unbending position in this topic. As school committee members, we have been informed of outrageous conspiracy theories, false accusations of malintent, personal insults, including of committee members and children, costly record demands, coercion, cries of reverse racism, and shockingly racist rhetoric, all in opposition to our simple desire to retire the colonial as a school mascot, as a way of embracing all members of our school community. Last week during our meeting, it was in this context that I heard that racist attacks were being made. It is important for others to understand that most members of the committee didn't have the chat open and weren't able to see the comments that were made during the meeting. It also is the typical rule of order that committee members do not reply to public comment during meetings. That being said, I've learned a lot since the meeting already. I'd like to thank Amy Bowman Osner for sending a very helpful link about counter speech that can be effective when dangerous speech is made in public. And I've learned a great deal from that. I've been encouraged that there's been a strongly voiced commitment to anti-racism across our two towns. As a school committee, we will continue to work deliberately toward valuing a diversity of voices and hope to create a committee in which our perspectives are continuously broadened with equity and balance of power as a specific goal.
Thanks, Nora. Adam?
In thinking how I would respond to the events of last week, I wanted to make sure that my experience did not overshadow that of Kira and Evelyn. I thought about making a brief statement in support of them and that I should stand by them in this difficult time. As I was gathering these thoughts, the cuckoo clock in my office went off. This is a clock I inherited from my grandparents. At that moment, I recalled an article sent to me about my grandfather, Ray Klein. Ray was a founding member and the first president of the Oceanside Committee on Human Rights. Their goal was to bring about equality among the races. They worked locally to fight for equality and participated in the March on Washington in 1963. My grandfather was a privileged white man from Long Island. He didn't just stand by in support. He stood up, he took action, and he used his position to make life better for the whole community. So this afternoon, I'm here to do the same. I'm here to actively use my white privilege to highlight the racism around us. Yes, racism exists in Acton and Boxborough. Local officials need to use their voice to not only denounce and push for investigations, but to acknowledge that racism exists. No, one person or one racist act does not represent a town, but just one person denying the existence of or minimizing the insidious nature of racism in our town is unacceptable. Our first step to improving is to collectively accept that racism exists in Acton and Boxborough, either overtly, like we experienced last week, or implicitly, like we've seen in many public and private statements since. Racism exists in Acton and Boxborough. I commit to using my voice to highlighting the systemic racism around us and to lift up the voices of those marginalized because of their religion, disability, or color of their skin. To adapt a quote from the Boxborough Select Board statement, Kira, Evelyn, you are not alone. Evelyn, Kira, you have value. Kira, Evelyn, you are appreciated. Evelyn, Kira, you belong here. Thank you.
Thanks, Adam. John?
In this season of caroling, I reflect on a well-known hymn, How Can I Keep From Singing? And as I think of the racist attack on Kira and Evelyn last week, I wonder, how can I keep from screaming? When Lori Lightfoot, the Black mayor of Chicago, suppresses information about a wrongful no-knock entry, why should we keep from screaming? When Marty Walsh, the white mayor of Boston, is silent while a policeman with a history of poor judgment is not reprimanded after T-boning the car of an elderly woman, why should we keep from screaming? How can it be that we are not all screaming? Ironically, it is our diversity that creates our individual responses to racist incidents and our varied approaches to the work of becoming better. I've told my children that the basis of a good relationship is speaking out about what you have on your mind. No one is a mind reader. The joys and sorrows of your days are unknown to me unless you share. I have frequently needed to remind my friends that they should not be biased. They should share their sorrows and their pain with me, that we might be better friends. From this perspective, I am glad that Evelyn shared her raw emotion and her pain. No response could be more honest. I hope her words energize the work of change. I stand with Evelyn. I've also told my children that it is within their power to decide how to respond to any given incident. It is their choice to laugh, to cry, to run, to stay, or to bear silent witness. I've gotten some pushback as my children have said, "You feel what you feel, you can't choose." Everybody is wired differently. For me, I think I almost always have the option to think slow. There is an immediate catharsis that may be found in a tweet, a Facebook post, shouted words, and slogans. These instant responses are part of establishing the need for change. They will not go away. However, I believe that lasting change will not be found in an immediate response. Durable change will be the product of considered responses and hard work. I hope that my efforts, both as a school committee member and as a member of the community, will show my work. Willingness to devote time and energy to challenging conversations about race and bias. Willingness to embrace nuance and ambiguity. Willingness to be vulnerable and to show love. An important type of letter is the unsent letter. I quote an op-ed. Mark Twain was a famous writer of non-sent letters. Twain once became angry with the Russian people and wrote a letter to the entire nation when they were too tolerant of their czar, saying, "Apparently none of you can bear to think of losing the present hell entirely. You merely want the temperature cooled down a little." Written, never sent. For the avoidance of doubt, I have my unsent letters. I'm deeply angered and I am committed to lasting change. I stand with Evelyn. I stand with Kira. I love the experiences, the perspective, and the wisdom that their voices bring to our community and our committee.
Thank you, John. Angie?
Yeah, thank you, Tessa. So I want to start by saying to Evelyn and Kara that you should never have to deal with this. I'm just so sorry you have to deal with, and also so proud of you that your strength and your spirit in standing firm in the face of this attack. Words are powerful. In the internet and social media age, people can abuse their weight and think they can get away and hide behind a screen. Words are also dangerous as they can have a different impact on different contexts. I myself, as a non-native speaker, I can share multiple experience that with the same word, it is understood by me very differently simply because the different cultural background and understanding. But with the Zoom bombing, I hope it's very clear that our school committee, our school committee and community are all on the same page, and that hate speech will never be tolerated by anyone, and that action needs to be taken to stop racism in our community. This will be very hard to do as racism exists. We'll do it together with policies to educate and make sure that all our students, that no one will have to experience this, but have the same opportunity to achieve that what they desire, regardless of the race or whatever differences. We also do it by listening and understanding that we all have different background, therefore we can't imagine how other people will feel. We'll do it by encouraging and learning from each other. We'll do it by thinking about the words you will say and as if you will say to yourself. So racism have no place here, but inclusiveness and love does. And be strong.
Thanks, Angie. Dawn?
I first want to acknowledge the trauma that Evelyn, Kira, and many people of color are experiencing after viewing the hateful messages aimed at Kira and Evelyn last week. Coupled with other painful racial incidents that have played out in our schools, our towns, and across our nation in the last year, I also want to recognize the burden of race-based stress that many people of color carry with them every day. In 2001, former director of the National Coalition for Equity in Education, Julian Weisglass, wrote, "Good intentions and hard work are not sufficient to eliminate racism. We need communities where it is safe enough for the invisible to be made visible, where whites can listen to people of color talk about how they and their ancestors have experienced racism. Listening to one another's stories and emotions helps people identify what needs to change within their institutions, their colleagues, and themselves. Being listened to helps us heal. We do not need to acquire new skills in order to listen to or to show compassion for one another or to understand how differences make our community stronger. As individuals, we must do our part to ensure that each and every one of our families, and especially our families of color, feel heard and feel that they belong." Last night at our DEI Family Advisory meeting, Kira Cook offered the most beautiful sentiment when she said, "Let's build a town that is worthy of our children, both personally and professionally." I'm all in on that. Thank you, Kira, and thank you, Evelyn.
I know that Deb and Marie also have their hands raised, but I know that I see that Diane and Jenny were both physically raising their hands. So Deb and Marie, if you don't mind, if I call on the other committee members, and I see that your hands are raised. So Jenny, I know yours was raised, and then Diane.
Thank you. First, I want to push back on the false narrative that's circulating that this board did not listen to both sides. That's not true. We did listen to both sides and consider all sides, but unanimously voted to retire the colonial. Second, I want to note that this committee's unanimous decision was a response to a request that was brought to us by a group of current AD students who feel strongly that the colonial cannot and does not represent them and actually leads them to feel marginalized and unvalued. I understand that there are people in this community who do not agree that the current students should feel that way about the colonial. What I object to is any statement that demeans those students or calls into question their motivations for seeking to retire their mascot. There is a I have seen members of the group called Save Our Colonial refer to their quest as a cause, which itself is unfortunate. I also note that two of the most active and vocal members of the group are grown men who graduated from AD years ago. It makes me wonder, in this moment of death and crisis in this country, what it is that motivates grown-ups to devote their time, energy, and money to making sure that a school from which they graduated a long time ago keeps the mascot that was current when they attended that school. I think this question is answered in part by Kimberly Atkins in a recent op-ed in the Globe. I'm just going to read one portion of a paragraph. It was called "The Year of Fear and the Fragility of the White Male Myth." The denigration, dismissal, and erasure of women and people of color in an effort to preserve the enduring, if inaccurate, vision of American exceptionalism being a product of white men only isn't new. History books taught us that the founders, after all, were fathers, not the actual mothers, sisters, aunties, or Black and brown brothers upon whose shoulders the actual labor of building a new nation fell. That blind spot is necessary to perpetrate the myth. And those who seek to dispel the lie end up being blamed for the social chasms in this country that are being stoked by the current occupant of the White House and others seeking to protect the white male homogeny at all costs. For those who question whether the outrageous public and racist attacks against two members of our board are connected to our unanimous decision to retire the colonial, I invite you to spend the many hours it took each of us to read through the 700 plus emails that were sent to us. You will find that a very large percentage of those opposed to retiring the colonial spoke in extremely racist terms and felt completely free to do that. So if you are in favor of keeping the colonial as our mascot, I hope you will consider giving some thought to the reasons that the colonial mascot is so important to you, despite the fact that it causes pain to so many of our current students. And in closing, I just want to say that I am very happy that both Kira and Evelyn have felt the outpouring of support from this community, and I hope that that continues. I want to be part of that support, just remind our community members that they are two members of the community that voted, and this was a unanimous decision of all members.
Thanks, Judy. Diane?
Thank you, Tessa. I raised my hand in the beginning because I just wanted to bring up a question. There are something like 300 million people on Zoom every day, and the nature of our public meetings perhaps renders us really vulnerable to attacks like this in the future. And I just, you don't have to address that right now. It is a huge concern of mine, and how do we protect against that kind of thing happening in the future? Again, not to be answered now. I just wanted to bring that up. So I was thinking a lot about Kira and Evelyn and the hate speech, and the fact that it was not, it was done in the context of their role as elected public officials. It wasn't a passerby rolled down their window. It wasn't a personal email or even school committee email that was sent to them personally. Whoever did this was moved to do so by hate and with intention to publicly humiliate and verbally assault Evelyn and Kira as Black women in positions of power. And in Kira's case, and I don't know if this is also true for Evelyn, the first Black woman ever elected to a governing body in the town. This was clearly, an assault of seismic, it was a seismic event. And as I thought more about it, I really feel like it transcended that because of the venue that they chose, or that person chose. It was an assault on all Black people, and indeed on all who care about the dignity of human life. It was assault on the entire school committee as a collaborating, deliberative governing body, and on all elected officials everywhere who are brave and fierce enough to enter the political arena and speak their truth. Kira, when you were running, you had a concern that you voiced to me that this kind of thing would happen. And I assured you that you should keep going and keep fighting. And I want you to know that what I said to you then stands true today, and it stands true for Evelyn as well. I will have your back. We will have your back. I meant it then, and we mean it now. I am so sorry that this came true and happened.
Thanks, Diane. Deb?
I just want to start by first saying that I am so incredibly grateful that Evelyn and Kira, if you are my school committee members, we need your voice now more than ever. I really strongly believe too that the words that we use, it shapes our thinking, shapes our perceptions, shapes our beliefs, shapes our culture. The language that we use matters. And as educators and as district leaders, it's our responsibility to teach how to respond, how to speak up against all forms of hate speech, as well as how to engage in constructive conversations. And while our students attend school for a good chunk of their day, they live in homes, they live in neighborhoods, and they live in communities. And so it has to be up to all of us. We all have a role to play to continue to build a culture of belonging, especially now. Thank you both very, very much for all you've done for our community and continue to do. I'm eternally grateful.
Marie? Thanks, Deb.
Evelyn and Kira, I am so sorry that this happened to you. This was a horrific and racist act of violence, and I am so sorry that you were the target. There is no excuse for what happened to you. I stand with you. I hear you. I am inspired by you, and I learn from you. I am committed to use my privilege and my position of power to fight the racism that exists in our community and in our schools. This incident happened on my watch. Other racist and anti-Semitic hateful acts against our students and staff have happened on my watch. I reflect on that. and I'm doing everything I can to think about ways in which I could have done better and we could have done better. I commit to doing better in the future. I've learned a lot since many of us stood on the field 2.5 years ago in June in the face of a hateful anti-Semitic act and symbols that were painted on our wall. I know I have much more to learn, and there's much more I need to do to help eliminate racism and hate from our schools. I am grateful for our community partners. I have been reading and hearing the feedback from you and many community members and reflecting on what we can do better going forward. Evelyn and Kira, I am so grateful that you have the generosity of spirit and are brave enough to donate your time, take time away from your family, and give your experience to serve on this committee with a vision of a better school district where each and every child in Acton and Boxborough can be included, can know that they are loved, and know that they belong. I look forward to continuing to do this work with you, to learn from you, and I am committed to doing better.
Thanks, Marie. All right, Kira, that was you.
Thank you, Tessa.
You're welcome.
I am here first and foremost to say thank you. Since Thursday, my phone has not stopped ringing. My mailbox is full of messages of love, encouragement, and hopes to do better. The strong statements of support from Superintendent Light and the AB leadership's team, Chairwoman McKinley, the high school faculty, Representative Govea, the AB United Way, and other members of our community were deeply meaningful during this trying time. I've received emails from AB students as young as 5th graders telling me they know what happened, they are so sorry, and they hope we all do better and that they care about me. The idea that our diverse and dynamic student body knows about what happened to Evelyn and me and cares enough to reach out in grief and support has so much meaning for me and for us as a town. What happened and what followed will have a lasting impression on my sons, Evelyn's daughters, many of our district students, and maybe even your kids watching at home. And that impression could last, perhaps, for a lifetime. My favorite history professor in college started all his courses with a simple sentence that has always stuck with me. Ideas have consequences. So let me talk for a moment about ideas and their consequences. What we have seen over the last week is that we all have very definite ideas about our town. And those ideas have dictated how we've behaved. And maybe we should all be a little less certain about the ideas we hold dear. And maybe this town is a little more complicated than our ideas have led us to believe. Maybe we should make a point of exposing ourselves to new ideas, which will in turn affect our conduct and have concrete consequences. What I saw in action this weekend is that sometimes the consequences of our ideas can be unplanned, unintended, and still powerful. The people who stood up to show support for Evelyn and me, to show support for people of color in Acton and Boxborough, including our students, have helped reclaim the narrative. I want you to all know that I see you and I appreciate you. I know that you are what Acton is all about. We're a dynamic, changing, complex community. We are demanding and have high expectations. We are smart, sophisticated, and beautiful. Our children are poised, bold, and forward-thinking. I've said it many times since Thursday, and I'll say it again. I am so proud to have been elected by this town to serve and fight for our students. I am so proud to be a resident of Acton Acton is not just a white community with Black people in it. It's not just a place where people of color are interlopers in someone else's community. We have been here a long time. In some cases, we've been here all along, even if we haven't always been noticed. I chose this town for my boys and their future. So many of you have gone out of your way to tell me that my family and I belong here, and I will forever be thankful. I know that there are still consequences to some of the well-worn yet now exposed and debunked ideas that still linger in our community. There are still neighbors among us who are scared and who need more support to feel seen, heard, known, and welcome in our towns. We need to continue to be there for them. And there will be instances when bigoted ideas resurface. We need to continue to reject and rebuke the small minority of people in town who would try to marginalize any Actonian for the color of their skin, or the language that they speak, or the religion that they practice, or where they were born. And so we move forward. When we look back on this moment, I hope we forget the incident itself and only remember how our community came together to reject racism. I hope we can feel a bit of pride in ourselves and our neighbors for refusing to be bystanders in the face of a heinous violation of our civic life. And I hope we can all be more fully committed to the idea of trying to make our community better than it was the day before. I know I am. And I am grateful to you all for lending me your strength to do that. Thank you.
Thanks, Kira. I apologize for the beginning of the meeting when apparently I was rustling my paper in front of the microphone and that it was distracting from the message that I had. But I do want to say to both Kira and Evelyn, you apologized to me for having to deal with this. And Kira, you said to me that I changed the course of your life. And, to the both of you, well, both of those things may be true. I'm sorry we all have to deal with this. And it is my honor as your colleague to deal with this. And Kira, as much as you may feel that I changed the course of your life, both of you certainly have changed the course of mine. And my reasons for being on the committee and my reasons for agreeing to chair and do the work that is tiring and is exhausting, but certainly it is an honor to do it by your side and to do it in a way that I can use my white privilege to further the causes that are important to all of us. So thank you to both of you for remaining on the committee, for running for the committee, for doing things that you knew were going to be hard. And Kira, you told me the same thing that you told Diane. I will not forget sitting in the Legends Cafe and you saying to me, this is going to be hard. This is going to put me in a place that is going to be hard. And you were right. And I am sorry that is the truth, but I am so glad that you decided to take the risk and go on this journey because your voice is so important. You are so unbelievably eloquent, and listening to both of your voices really adds weight and importance to all of the work that we're doing. So thank you.
Tessa, do you mind if I just
go right ahead.
Jump in? And I will not talk for very long. Kira and Evelyn, I will just say to both of you what an enormous level of respect I have for both of you and the work that you're doing. You were two of the first people I met coming into this district through very different means. Kira, I wish I could tell you I remembered anything about the superintendent interview process, but that was just a big cloud at the time. And Evelyn, I do remember very distinctly sitting with you early on and talking about race and racism and experiences that you had. Throughout the time, I've just developed such a level of respect for you. And, this is not a written statement because I kind of wanted to hear what everyone was saying. But what struck me in all of this is, knowing you, having the level of respect I have for you has really, I think, not only for me, but for all of us, caused such an emotional response for us, and we can't fathom what you're going through, but we know the emotions that we have around this. And I guess the commitment that I want to make sure I keep going forward is, you know, regardless of how well I know someone, I need to maintain the same emotional response. Because, you know, what happened to both of you in that meeting is inexcusable. And we need to make sure that we don't ever think it's any less excusable that it happens to someone we may not know as well. And, you know, I just want to make sure you both know how committed I am and how committed we all are to making sure that none of our students and none of our community members have this experience. So thank you both for all you do. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your continued commitment. Thank you for your grace, to use your words, Kira. You know, in light of just such a really unacceptable, terrible situation. And I'm just so excited to be working with you as we move forward.
Okay, so I shared with Beth a draft that is really just meant to get us started. My goal for tonight is that we've all taken the time to express our denunciation of this act and everything else, and now is the time for us to move forward and decide what we're going to do with our reaction to that. So I shared with Beth a draft to get us started. It is, you know, it's meant to be discussed and it's meant to be shared, and it's meant for us to make edits and changes to it so that it becomes something that is the work of all of us and that we can all agree to. My hope is that we can vote on it tonight so that this can be our work going forward. So Beth, I don't know if you want to share the screen. I don't know if everybody had an opportunity to read it ahead of time. If you did not, when it goes up, I'll certainly give you the opportunity. John, do you have a question?
Comment.
Go right ahead.
So I did actually send to, Beth?
Peter, I don't think I can share my screen. You need to change that, please.
Okay, well,
So evidently our enhanced security settings that we configured for the meeting don't allow me to enable others to share their screen. So I'm going to go ahead, and I actually have the Word version that John sent us. John put your version, Tessa, into a Word document so that it could be edited. So if it's okay, I can go ahead and share my screen, and I'm happy to make the edits.
Sorry.
Yeah, and John broke the rules, which was you're not supposed to send your comments ahead of time because that would be considered deliberation. So
just so you know, in order to avoid any of that, I actually took the Word version John sent, but deleted out any comments that were in there, and we're happy to take them verbally.
Okay, thank you. And Angie, the same as you. I believe that you sent a comment, but that you'll have to share verbally tonight as well.
Okay.
So I have my my participant thing open. Peter, we can only see.
What are you looking at?
The Zoom screen that you are looking at.
Oh, that's not helpful, is it?
No. Not really.
Let's see.
So anyway, what I was going to say is I'll be looking at the participant thing with hands raised, because when Peter's sharing the screen, there's no way for me to see everybody who's at the meeting. So if you want to add something or contribute something or make a comment about something, then it's imperative that you use the raise hand feature.
So now can I go?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay, first of all, let me explain exactly what I did. So what I did was I took Tessa's version, I put it in Word, I added a couple of track changes that I liked, and I sent it to Beth with the idea being that we could do exactly what we're doing now, put a Word version up, and then as people say things, people can see the track changes, and that would give us a better discussion than taking sort of a long statement and just hacking at it verbally. So although I copied Peter and Tessa on that email, that was simply to say, for convenience, to save some typing, here are my track changes. So with that being said, let me make.
So John, you may go, but just so you know, I sent a Word version to Beth with the very intention that she share it so that no one would do what you did. So anyway.
So can I make a suggestion for process? Because we could really go in some different places on this. It would be helpful to me if someone makes a comment or suggestion, I can try and capture that in the document. But if before we move on to different comments, we resolve the feedback around that one portion. I don't know how you feel about that. I'm just trying to make sure we're clear in what we're doing and I don't lose track of things.
I think that makes sense. So John, if you would like to let me ask this question, and I can't really see everyone to tell me if you did, but has everyone had an opportunity to read it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, but I'm sorry. I think we need to start with what you sent. I don't want to start with already in introductions of other comments coming in. Sorry, my cat is eating my cookie, trying to eat my cookie that my kids gave me.
Amy, you're looking at Tessa's original version right now.
Right, thank you.
Okay, so let me make a general statement and then I'll provide the specific, comments that I made. The general statement is that we rightfully said a lot about hate and racism. And I think it's really important in our statement that we include the words inclusion and love. And those words actually were also used, in the run-up, to the discussion of this formal statement because, what kicked off actually the whole colonial discussion was the idea of inclusion. And inclusion, rightfully was an important objective. It remains an important objective. It extends to this discussion about making sure that our school committee feels inclusive and throughout all of our community. So I really, want there to be some positive words in the statement. So what I suggested specifically was there was one sentence that struck me as a little bit run on. So in the middle of the second paragraph, I would propose putting a period after the word intimidation, striking the word and then starting a new sentence that would read, mere kindness, welcome, and tolerance are no longer the standard for the type of community our students deserve. And then in the second to last sentence in that paragraph, it talks about becoming an anti-racist community. And my preference would be that what our objective is to become a loving community. And then the last comment that I had on the document was in the
John, I'm just wondering, in terms of trying to capture them all, I'm almost wondering if we want to get to all of the comments someone would have or try and resolve some as we go.
I think we should because I'm a little concerned, like I don't want to put the changes in there. Yeah, this is going to be difficult with 10 of us doing
Yes.
this. And I'm not sure that I want to put changes in there until there is kind of a common sentiment that we're going in the right direction. Because, for instance, I would really push back against changing the word from anti-racist to loving because I think that they have two entirely different meanings. So I think that it will be hard for us to not see the changes in real time as people suggest them, but I think that we should do a good job listening to each other and then I think people should have an opportunity, I think, to make initial comments, and then we can go back maybe and hammer out the actual language changes.
Okay.
Okay, in that case, the last change I have is really more of a wordsmithing thing, so I'll drop it and you can move on to the next person.
Okay. Diane?
I saw Adam's hand go up. I didn't know if he was going to react to John because I'm going to take this in a little bit different direction. So I wanted to make sure that, Adam
I think it will be really hard for me to police who's raising hands. So I think I will just encourage people to really hold on to your thought because I think it will be impossible for us to as it would be easier if we were all looking at each other, sitting in a meeting room and able to raise hands, and then it would be much clearer. But for me, because I can only see like two of you when while I'm doing this, and I can see, like, I know Jenny just figured out how to raise her hand, and you know, all this stuff. It's sort of, it's a really hard thing to manage. So Diane, go right ahead. Then I will call on Adam, and then I will call on Jenny.
Okay, thank you. I like the draft. I like it a lot. I'm not in a rush to vote. I think it should be voted quickly, but if it's not today, I'll be okay with that. I have one concern, and it's really just from many hours of observing what is going on in the community and what I'm hearing from other school committee members and staff and employees of the district. So what I am observing is some of the most closed-minded, polarized discourse, especially on social media, but not exclusively on social media, about the mascot and about race that I have ever witnessed since moving to Acton in 1999, okay? And it's on both sides. We seem to be taking Kendi seriously in that there is no such thing as I'm not a racist. And if you are working to dismantle racism, if you're not doing that, you're implicitly endorsing it. The unfortunate outcome of this appears to be who gets to set the agenda, and if you're not with me, you're against me. And so what I want to bring up is something that has stayed with me from the Khalees Warnham talk. She was the keynote speaker at the Delegate Assembly in the morning program. And she does a ton of work on cultural proficiency. She works with schools, et cetera, and she was fantastic. She said, no significant growth can happen without significant relationship. That's what she said in her talk. And in talking specifically about how teachers become more culturally competent in their classrooms, she said one of the most powerful things I've ever heard. She said, students will learn your content, but first you have to see them. And in fact, she actually took on like the perspective of a student and said, I will learn your content, but the first thing you have to do is see me. And I feel like the same thing is true for our communities and leadership teams and all that. I hope the people on Facebook are listening to this. In the hard conversation about race, we need to see each other. Otherwise, there will be no movement, at least no peaceful movement. And you don't have to like it, but that's the way it is. I'm looking at this statement that the draft, which is wonderful. I'm worried because I don't, just with the mascot discussion, if I don't agree that the mascot is racist, and I believe that the colonial, for me, was a symbol of what is good and right and possible, am I a racist? Even though I voted to retire it, and I would do it again for the reasons that Peter and Larry Dory stated on October 16th? And what does it mean? So in the context of this statement, what does it mean to engage in the work to be anti-racist community, to empower educators and school leaders, to commit to establishing policies that support anti-racist work, to craft budgets that improve educational equity for all, to work hand in hand with the administrators? It's that whole paragraph 3 and the last sentence in paragraph 2. I'm not sure we need to kind of lay it all out in detail, but there's a discomfort on this polarization where someone gets to set the agenda, and if you don't agree or you want to really deliberate on it and you don't share that view, whatever it is, you're labeled. And I think it's causing a lot of people to not want to engage. And I don't know how to even talk about that in here, but I'm wondering if other people are noticing this and feel like it's important enough to say something about the importance of no significant growth is going to happen without a significant relationship. And I will learn what you have to say, and I'll engage, in other words. But first, you need to see me, and I need to see you. So that was my reaction. And I'm sorry I don't have like a beautiful sentence that's succinct and to add to one paragraph, but I wanted to just share my thoughts on that. Thank you.
Thanks, Diane. I just want to clarify because I want to better understand. You're just suggesting not that what was written here is specifically fanning those flames, but that you want to add that we need to be able to see each other. I just want to understand.
Change any of those things that you said.
Okay, that's what I wanted to that's what
as I start to kind of like experience what that means concretely as we have these really difficult conversations about race and the mascot or whatever, I'm worried that people will interpret that to mean they can't engage for fear of being labeled.
Okay, understood. Adam?
Yeah, I'll riff for a quick second off of what Diane said, because I think it does make a lot of sense. So I think that maybe what we want to add somewhere in here is acknowledgement that this work needs to be done with empathy for viewpoints from the entire community of stakeholders that we represent. And so I agree with you, Diane. In general, Tessa, I think that this is an excellent statement. And my suggestion in terms of how we move forward is maybe after everybody gets an opportunity to give some overarching feedback, that we maybe go through sentence by sentence so that we have a structure, do the first sentence, then do the next, and sort of check those off as we get through them.
Thanks, Adam. Jenny?
I agree with Diane, and I think that something that you actually said to me, Tessa, the other day when I ran into you at the post office is, there's a lot of false narratives out there, which are driving me crazy because I don't feel like we've effectively responded to a lot of it. Some for reasons of, the rules that apply, but it's not true that we canceled the Colonial. I mean, there will still be Pfeiffer's Day, there will still be Minutemen, there will still be Patriots Day. Anybody who, feels, proud and empowered of the Colonial can, certainly participate in any of those things. And, I don't think that, that's none of our business. It's not under our purview, and it's not something that anybody here is seeking to, alter in any way. So I agree with Diane. I mean, I think, obviously there is a lot to celebrate about the quote unquote founding of Acton and Boxborough, and the people who lived here in colonial times and the amazing things that some of them did. So I don't think that we, I don't want obviously this statement to turn into, anything about the Colonial specifically, but I agree that we have to, communicate that we're not saying that if you don't want to celebrate the Colonial, you're racist. And nor do we want to, silence any voices. And I think that it is important. I like the suggestion by Adam to go through sentence by sentence, so that we can try to incorporate some language that it's not like our way or the highway. It's, we will have processes, by which we listen to all stakeholders and carefully consider, as we did in that case, all the different viewpoints, and then, do the job that we were, hired to do, which was vote to the best of our ability, on what to do next. So I think it is important to make it a statement that invites and promises to, carefully consider with respect all manners of viewpoint, as long as obviously they're, appropriate and not completely, out of bounds.
I appreciate all that. I just want to be clear, when I crafted this, it was meant to be an outline and a starting point. I intentionally left out any language about the mascot decision, because I do think that this needs to be bigger than that. This is, a reaction and to the work that we have ahead of us, whether that includes, further discussion of the Colonial or not. I mean, I think that I think it's important to consider, and I agree with Diane about adding language. So as you're listening to everybody express their overarching opinions, I hope someone's working on crafting a sentence or two that we could add that would reflect that. Evelyn?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, the whole mascot situation is just one sliver of issues that we've encountered in our community. And I intentionally left that out because I don't think that it's a focal point for where we are today, because we have had issues in this community. And maybe that has exacerbated these issues, but I don't hold it responsible. I also do think that, racism has had such a bad rap that anytime you speak it, people get defensive, and it shouldn't be. Actually, we all know that racism exists and is due to the institutional structures that have been built over the years that have skewed people's thinking against other people. And when I say other people, people of color and minority backgrounds. So I say that, and I also want to add that, and people like me and Kiara have our biases as well, and our fears and our distrust, right? So we all have to just accept that it exists. And I always think that the first step to making a change is accepting that a problem exists. And when they say somebody is racist, it doesn't necessarily, I think we view it as an insult. It shouldn't be. And there are a lot of people, I have a lot of friends, white friends, who say, I'm not racist. I couldn't be racist. I invite you to my parties. I invite you to things. I speak to you. I come to your house, but I'm not racist. But innately, they are. They probably are not treating every Black person they encounter the way they treat me. Somewhere in your subconscious is sitting there. And if you don't acknowledge it and say the systems have really skewed my thinking, have taught me how to act, and I want to unact that way, no, we can get there. And so I don't see anything wrong with really saying we want to be an anti-racist community. I see that in some ways as a compliment, saying that we acknowledge that not all of us are thinking the way we want to think, and not all people are treated equally. And so we want to think differently. We want to do things differently. We want to make it inclusive for every member of our community. And I say that because I have my lived experiences in this community prior to the mascot situation. And it hasn't felt good. And I know many have. And so how can we make it better so that people who do not look like each other can live alongside with each other with mutual respect? And that's all that I'm calling for from my peers and from the community. How can we develop a statement where people in this community realize that we need to get away from the divisiveness of whether the mascot represents people of color, doesn't represent people of color, but get to a central point where we all agree that there's an issue that exists. And now we need to change that. And then we need to teach our educators to think differently. We need to teach neighbors to think differently. We need to teach friends to think differently so that people are feeling included. I received letters from kids that said, I want to bathe. I was called out because of the color of my skin. So many stories in support of Kiara and I, but also telling us the things that they have experienced. No kids should have to live like that. So that's just I actually truly want to spend this time really listening to all of you and thinking through what the best situation is and the best way to move forward is rather than talking. So this will be my last word out there. Thank you.
Thanks, Evelyn. Nora, and then Kira.
I thought that this was really fantastic. Tessa, I read it and felt like it was more than just a really strong start. I really could get behind this. I like the strong language around acknowledging racism and being anti-racist. I kind of felt a little bit maybe the way John did, that I would like to add some of the positive aspects of that, including how one of the uniquely valuable things that AB's school community has is its diversity, and that we really only all benefit from that diversity if we pay attention to it and listen to each other, and learn to be a community. And so some language about, this is our intention because, as Kira said, we need to do the right thing. It's also our intention because it benefits all of our students, to learn from each other and to see anti-racism modeled, and to learn about anti-racism from their leaders and hopefully from each other. So I don't know if it's something added or something changed, but that was my only real suggestion when I read through it, was that something about the valuing of why we're doing this, not just because it's right. Of course, that's the main reason. It's the right thing to do, and we're in a position of power that we can do that. And then the second reason is because it does, as a school committee member, we're always thinking about our students and how is this best for our students.
Great, thank you. Kira?
I wanted to just echo Adam's suggestion that we just kind of start at the top and, just like read a paragraph out loud and, say like, are we cool? Can we, so that way we can just like keep it, because otherwise we're going to be here. I got to be at a 7:30 meeting. I just am, as a writer, I'm like, oh, okay, we're writing by committee. This is actually what it is. So I'm suggesting that we scroll up, get to paragraph line, and so that way we can be here before everybody's term is up,
Amy, did you have something to, I agree with you, Kara. Amy, did you have something to add?
I just wanted to very quickly say that I completely agree. I think the statement is, I think the statement is great. And but I completely agree with everyone, just because I haven't said I didn't, voice my opinion. So yes, let's move through it.
Angie, did you have a question or a comment before we start line by line?
Oh, line by line.
We're gonna start at the top so that unless you have an overarching statement around this that you'd like to make, which you may, because that's what everyone else did. But when everyone is done sharing those sentiments, then yes, we're gonna start at the top. I will read the first paragraph, and anyone that has a comment or a change can contribute that.
Okay, so I'm just gonna say two things. I agree with Diane and Evelyn. I just want to make sure that because maybe I misunderstand, but I want to make sure that we're focused on the racism issue with this incident, and let the police investigation for the case. So I kind of my view of the colonial topics is related to racism, and this thing is 100% about racism, but we should treat it independently at this point. I just want to make sure that we are on the same page with that. And we are, my only comment actually is at the end, which is if we're gonna go sentence by sentence, I can do that when we are there.
Okay, great. So then I think what I will do is I will read the first paragraph aloud. Everyone that has their hand up right now, are you raising it already, or you just not put it down? Because otherwise it'll really be hard for me to figure it out. Okay.
We're going to clear the deck.
Okay, thanks, Peter.
Sure.
You're the only one that can do that. So.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. All right. We, the Acton Boxborough Regional School Committee, condemn racism in all its forms. We acknowledge that there is racism in our schools and community, and that we must be active participants in the work to move away from being innocent bystanders to becoming active participants in anti-racist work. We are a committee of individuals, imperfect and vulnerable, with a diversity of beliefs and experiences. Yet we must work as one in service to our fellow neighbors and to all of our children. Adam?
All right, I have some suggestions on the second sentence.
Okay.
So great, first sentence was awesome. Second sentence, after the word community, I suggest that we stop that sentence there, and then we delete and that we must be active participants in the work to move, and replace that with just we must move. So it reads, we must move away from being innocent bystanders.
So Tessa, I have a question.
Yep.
I'm happy to capture that. Do you want me to capture everyone's comments, or do you want to discuss it? Like,
It's really hard for me to make that decision because while your screen is shared, I can literally only see like 4 people. So I can't say, is everyone okay with that, and see if they're nodding their heads, unless you can see everybody like that.
I can see everyone. I have 2 screens up, so I have the document on one and everyone on the other.
Okay.
So I'm happy to make the change so people can see it, and then, but
Okay, well, I stick to that. Whatever seems easiest to do, that's fine, but I can't be the arbiter of whether or not the committee agrees because I can't see. So
Can I make a suggestion, Peter? I think if you split your screen, then Tessa would be able to see both. You know, if you minimize the dot, I think that she could see both if you have both open on yours.
I can try.
If
It's not doing it.
If
you can shrink the document down to half.
I'm also fine if Peter is the arbiter and people are just active in their nodding or thumbs up or whatever is easiest for Peter to see.
Okay.
I think probably a visible thumbs up is the easiest way. So, Adam, why don't you suggest suggest what you said again? And Peter, why don't you?
Can I ask one question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Does anyone have a issue with the first sentence?
Okay.
No.
No. Can we just incorporate? And I'm sorry, Tessa, I know I'm jumping in, but you know that's how I do it. Sorry, but can we just incorporate the comments and that assume that everybody agrees with it unless somebody raises their hand and says, "Wait, I don't," or jumps in and says, "Wait, I don't like that." Because you know, I think it would be faster if we just kind of yes, what Adam said. It's not a big change. It's just it makes sense.
Okay.
I would say in general, my changes are around clarity and not substantive.
Okay, good to know. So the second sentence you wanted to read how, Adam?
So at the end of community, we're at a period there, and then we delete all the way up to in the work to move, including the words to move, and replace that with we must move. So it could be just there, yeah. And then after the word bystanders, I deleted to becoming and replaced that with and dedicate ourselves to being. Keep active.
And by the way, I do type with 2 fingers, so I'm just going to apologize.
Yeah, Peter, just add the word active after being. And the word and in front of dedicate, and that's all the changes that I'm suggesting in the first paragraph.
Okay. All right. So then my question to everyone is, if you agree with that change, just give Peter a thumbs up.
Okay. I think we're good.
Okay. So does anyone have a suggestion or a change to the next sentence? We are a committee of individuals, imperfect and vulnerable, with a diversity of beliefs and experiences.
So Tessa, I can see everyone. It's Marie. So if everyone just gives a thumbs up, I can let you know. And if anyone objects, just raise your hand. You got thumbs up.
Okay. So then we have another sentence, yet we must work as one in service to our fellow neighbors and to all of our children.
You got thumbs up.
Okay.
Okay, so first paragraph is good.
Does anyone want to add something to the first paragraph?
No.
Okay, great.
Keep going, Kira's saying.
Okay, great. As we approach our work in the areas of budget and policy, we will be guided by the idea that we can no longer just be tolerant.
Can I add?
Hold on 1 second. Can you raise your hand? Diane put her hand up. And then I'll call on you. Diane?
Yep, I just want to say, I'm toying with maybe getting rid of in the areas of budget and policy and just say as we approach our work, we will be guided by, because we do goal setting and work other than policy and budget. If you want to add and goal setting, that's fine with me too, but that's my input on that one.
Okay. Angie, what did you want to say?
Oh, not there yet. Go ahead.
Oh, we're not there yet. Okay. Kira, did you have something about that sentence?
Can we replace just with merely or simply, or a stronger word, please?
Yep.
Thank you.
What would you like to suggest?
I would use merely, or I would use simply.
We use
I would use either. Then.
We use mere later on, so I'd go with simply.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Angie's hand is up.
Angie?
Be tolerate hate or tolerant of what?
Tolerant of everything. Like we are a tolerant community. And I think that is the problem. That this sentence is saying that we need to go beyond being simply tolerant.
Okay.
So it sounds to me like we need to define that in a sentence, the next sentence.
Okay. So as we approach, does everyone agree that we want to take out? I don't disagree with taking out budget and policy. I don't want to limit ourselves. I just was looking for a way to be more specific about what our work is. And so
I'm fine with taking it out, Tessa, because you mentioned it in the beginning of the next paragraph, which is a paragraph that really talks about the actions we're going to take.
Okay. As we approach our work, we will be guided by the idea that we can no longer simply be tolerant. Kira, do you have a suggestion of a next sentence?
I just think a next sentence needs to define what tolerance is, so that way we're just very clear that it's, tolerance in our view is simply, tolerance in our view means, only means that people can be in our space, or something like that. We just need to make sure that readers know what tolerance means. And I'm not sure. See, Adam has his hand up, so he's going to be really helpful. Thank you, Adam.
So I wonder if we just start the next sentence with, instead of we can no longer accept, we say we can no longer be tolerant with stoic silence of a culture of silencing.
Yeah, that's good.
Kira, does that work to define tolerance for you?
I'm not delighted that we use silence twice. I don't know how that happened, but otherwise I hear you. Yes.
We can change that.
We agree. We got use silence twice, and Adam, you got this.
Okay, so let's
try
say
again. Okay,
all right.
Adam, go for it.
So we're gonna we say we can no longer be tolerant of a culture of silencing, shaming, harassment, or intimidation.
Can I just say before you do that, I think that sentence does define some acts of tolerance. So, so it's kind of already there. So we'll be guided by the idea that we can no longer simply be tolerant. And then you could say something like, for example, we can no longer accept with stoic silence a culture. We can no longer, accept without reaction, a culture of silencing, shaming, harassment, or intimidation, and mere kindness, welcome, and yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like it's already, I think the definition is already there in that sentence. You just have to connect the thought explicitly.
I think that she's right about adding, for example. Thank you, Jenny.
So just add, for example, at the beginning.
Yeah, for example, comma.
The reason it says silence twice, Kira, is because it's our silence in a culture of silencing. So there may be another word for silence.
Erasure?
What?
Erasure?
Oh, that's a great idea. Who said that? Geniuses. Yes.
Yeah, erasure.
Yes.
Yep. Yes.
Love it. Yes.
Okay, although Kara loves it, I do want to jump in and say, I'd be sort of a fan of going with an active verb and say we will not tolerate rather than, to have this more passive construction.
We will
I'm
not.
also good with that.
Instead of saying we can no longer accept with stoic silence, John?
I agree with that, John.
Yeah, I would get rid of the for example, and I would just we will not tolerate, and then I'm not too agonized about exactly what comes after that, but the whatever you want the list to be.
So
All of
what
that?
I'm hearing it. Can you all see what I just highlighted?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just for example, what John is saying, that remove for example, and they say we will not tolerate, right?
So all of this would go, and what I think I'm hearing is John suggesting we will not tolerate, and then skip over a culture of erasure,
Yes.
shaming, harassment.
Yes.
I think we
I
keep
think
with
that's
stoic
what I
silence.
Think what?
I think we keep with stoic silence. We changed the second silencing to erasure so that we could
Yeah.
define our stoic silence of all of these other actions.
We will no longer tolerate with
Yep.
stoic silence a culture of erasure, shaming, harassment, or intimidation. Right?
Yes.
What's wrong with the for example though? Because that connected the tolerance.
Well, now we don't have to say, for example, because we literally just said we will
Okay.
tolerate.
Okay.
And I think you need a comma after tolerate. With stoic silence as a prepositional phrase. Yeah. Hey, look, Kira's the professional author here, so we'll go to her grammar.
Hey, actually,
Well,
sometimes
I
these
can
things are
use
just about
grappling
style.
to help me.
Actually, Dawn is our thing, and Dawn loves commas, so
Not as much as you love passive voice, though.
I would personally not put a comma there, but listen,
I
we're
wouldn't either.
literally writing by committee, so
Let's not get hung up on the comma.
Okay.
I love commas. I think commas should be everywhere.
And Kira, I wouldn't put a comma there either. So
I think we should divide up into a pro and against comma camp. where we
Angie has her hand raised.
identify ourselves.
I think that should be a
and,
substitute.
Yeah.
okay, Angie.
Yeah, so like my statement, so with different cultural background, that sometimes that for the same word or anything that you're gonna have a different understanding and interpretation. How we avoid the danger of misunderstanding or miscommunication before we do anything.
Are you suggesting a change to the language that we used, or are you just making a comment or something you want to?
Because right now, I agree that we will not tolerate, with this silence, but this is based on that that's on a mutually understanding that what people are saying, because
Maybe this is an opportunity to put what we were talking about earlier in between those two sentences, like we'll endeavor to always invite and try to understand different voices and different perspectives from stakeholders in our community. And then but we will not tolerate, however, we will not tolerate with stoic silence any cultures or
No, but my only issue about that is we have never, at least in my time on the school committee, we have not silenced other voices. Other voices that have come forward have been heard. And so I guess what we're bumping against, and Angie, I don't want to go back to the mascot situation, but what we are bumping against here is that folks did not come forward at the time that they needed to come forward with their concerns. It wasn't because somebody said, I wanted to come and present to the school committee and we dismissed it. So we have to make that clear. I feel like putting that in there is saying that we have always marginalized a certain group from speaking up whilst we echoed the voices of other people. And that has not at least been my experience in this school committee. So if somebody comes and says they want to talk to us, we've listened, right? We've listened. And anyone that was pro or against, we listened to the pro people, and the against people never came. So I know that that's a narrative on the street that we didn't afford everybody equal chance, but I cannot recall, at least to my knowledge, that anybody who was against came and said they wanted to come and talk to us, and that could have shifted our thinking, and people need to take responsibility for that.
We heard from every single person that was up there publicly.
I don't want to get into a bit. No. I don't want to do that. Okay. So Evelyn, I heard what you said. Guys, you can't raise your hands unless you're going to raise it in the panelist thing, because I can't. There's no way for me to.
So Tessa, before you say something, the point I'm trying to make is that I disagree with the addition that Angie is trying to insert in there, because it makes us seem as though we are not echoing the voices, we're not giving equal opportunity to everybody's voice, which is not true.
I understand 100%.
Adam was raising his hand, and then Nora raised her hand. Sorry, Tessa.
No, that's okay. Thank you, Marie. Adam?
So structurally, I think that we need to add something about understanding the diversity of views of our community, but I think that this first half of the paragraph is really talking about setting the stage about what we're no longer tolerant of, and it isn't until we get to the sentence that says we must actively participate in there that we would add something else about there's diversity of lived experiences, of which I have a suggestion for when we get there.
Okay, Nora.
If we said we will continue to listen to a diversity of perspectives. I mean, I think it is valuable to say it, but I agree, we don't want to say it's something new that we're doing.
Well, yeah, I mean,
whatever you want to do, or put it later.
Okay, if everyone is okay with that sentence the way it is now, we will not tolerate with stoic silence a culture of erasure, shaming, harassment, or intimidation, and mere kindness, welcome, and tolerance are no longer the standard for the type of community our students deserve. Is everyone okay with that? No. Adam?
I feel it runs on. I would suggest that after the word intimidation, we add a period, and we start a new sentence with the word near.
Which is funny because that's how it was before when Peter and I looked at it this morning. But we have added things since, so fair enough.
Yeah. So I feel like if we start that as a new thought, and then the other thing in the second half of the sentence is welcome doesn't feel like an active enough verb maybe here, and I think maybe switching that to acceptance flows better.
How do people feel about acceptance? Put your thumbs up. Marie?
Yep.
Okay.
You got thumbs up.
So change welcome to acceptance. Nora, did you have something else?
No, sorry, I forgot to lower my hand.
Okay, so now is everyone okay with those two sentences? We will not tolerate with stoic silence a culture of erasure, shaming, harassment, or intimidation. And
You
mere
got thumbs
kindness.
up.
Yes, okay. All right, great. So the next sentence is we must actively participate in the transformation of our town in collaboration with our dynamic student community and the families that entrust us with their education.
Yes, thumbs up.
Okay.
Should town be plural, towns?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Perfect. Okay. We must engage in the work to be an anti-racist community and understand that this work will be neither easy nor swift nor without discomfort in transformation. We have hands up. Adam, I think yours went up first and then Diane's.
I don't want to monopolize this, but I'm going to give you my suggestion as to how we manage this sentence. So after anti-racist community and understand that this, so after the word this, I would insert the following phrase, that this transformation should be considerate and empathetic of the diversity of lived perspectives that make up our community.
Good luck, Peter. That was a lot.
wife hates when I do this to her too.
Transformation of what?
Transformation should be considerate and empathetic of the diversity of lived perspectives that make up our communities. Period. This will, this and then delete the word work. That's my suggestion on ending the paragraph.
Gorgeous, amazing, love, highly endorse.
I agree. Diane?
So the last sentence, this work will be neither easy nor swift nor without discomfort and transformation, and in fact requires multi-sided dialogue.
Maybe instead of, do you want to take out the word transformation since we said transformation already and just add what Diane said and requires?
Yes.
Thumbs up.
Say it again, Diane. Requires
multi-sided dialogue.
Okay. Excellent collaboration, people. All right. Thumbs up. John, do you have something?
Yeah, I still, the comment that I made earlier, is about this question of being both for something as well as against something. So, I don't know where people would be interested in fitting it in, but I would like us to have the explicit goal of, having, people who join this community in the future to join it because they find it to be a loving community. And so because that's where I think we want to get to, so part of that is getting rid of something, but part of that is, establishing, a positive, loving community.
Would that be appropriate, like towards the end when we are, because that I didn't really put in, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how others feel, if anyone has an opinion about where to put that. Diane, are you still raising your hand or did you just not put it down? Yeah. Okay, well, here's my thought. Unless you have a specific place in mind, John, why don't we continue and then everyone keep that in mind as we move forward. So does everyone give that paragraph a thumbs up?
Yes.
Okay. So, all right. Therefore, we will work to empower the educators and school leaders across our district. Does everyone feel about that?
Diane's comments disappeared at the end of that when Peter accepted the stuff. Just want you to know.
Yep. There we go. Okay.
Thank you.
Good job, Peter. All right. Therefore, we will work to empower the educators and school leaders across our district. Sorry, there, it just says that. Nora?
I found that a little bit confusing. I just felt like it needed to be specified again, even though obviously it's what we're talking about. But therefore, we will work to empower the educators and school leaders across our district to work in an anti-racist way or empower them to.
I don't disagree with you. It was a different sort of sentence before. So now everything that was like initial kind of as different people have commented. So that's fine. Amy, did you have a suggestion about that?
It just sounds a little passive. It sounds like therefore we will empower. I mean, it feels very passive. There should be much more of there should be a stronger declaration that this is what is happening.
How about therefore we charge the educators?
Yes, thank you.
That's great.
Yes.
Okay. Therefore, we charge the educators and school leaders across our district to do what?
Do what? Exactly.
Yes, Jenny.
Yeah, we try to follow. I think
wait.
there's something that is missing at the end of that.
Okay, Jenny, what was your suggestion?
I was going to say that, the policies kind of come first. So should we say, can we commit to establishing policies that support anti-racist work and empowering our educators and school leaders to, carry them out or something like that?
We're charging them to do anti-racist work.
We charge the educators and school leaders across our district to engage in this anti-racist work.
That sounds good.
I think Ginny had the right idea. I think it really is, we create policy because that's where school committee lives. And then, we will work hand in hand. And then finally, we charge everybody to go off and do these things.
Okay, so you're saying we take that sentence, the charge, and move it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, I'm going to jump in and say, this is a very bold statement, one that I completely agree with, but we have to understand that this is not something that is said kind of in a bubble. This is a very strong statement that we are putting forth to all of our educators across the district. And I think that it's important that we word it in a way that provides for success for our educators.
Okay.
And not one that we kind of flip it. I don't think we're doing flippantly, but it's not one that we can just like flippantly throw out there. This is what we want. No, this is really what we want. And we're going to support you through this. And, so, I think it's a shift.
It is a shift. Okay, so Peter, take the first sentence and move it after the second sentence to begin with. Yeah. Okay. So we commit to establishing policies that support anti-racist work, crafting budgets that improve educational equity for all students, and working hand in hand with the administration to be accountable for taking brave and bold actions that challenge our existing structures and systems. Is everyone okay with that sentence as written?
Yeah, thumbs up.
Okay. So now, I don't know if we have to say therefore anymore. We charge the educators and school leaders across our district with carrying out this anti-racist work.
To doing the same, something like that. We charge our educators and school leaders across our district to do same. I don't know, we don't have to, because it complements the sentence above.
I think we say to join us in this commitment.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
And I would actually keep the therefore. I think it's powerful.
Okay.
Agree.
Okay. Therefore, we charge the educators and school leaders across our district to join us in this commitment. Okay.
Can I provide my feedback even if I'm not a committee member?
Of course you can, Peter.
Educators you're the ones crafting the policies and enacting budgets, but the educators, it might be charging the educators and school leaders across our district with, more, looking at curriculum, and looking at something else. There's something
Actionable.
else there.
Is that what
Maybe we challenge. Maybe we challenge our educators and school leaders to do this, because we don't have purview enough to say this is what you have to do. This is like we say this is our belief, and so we challenge you to do this.
Okay, Amy, you have to follow the rules because like 5 people.
No, I'm sorry.
You have to, because it's too hard to do otherwise. Okay, John.
So I think, what we could charge them to do, is to accelerate our efforts or to prioritize our efforts to make, all of our educational program an anti-racist program or something like it. So I'm not addicted to the last part, but we charge them explicitly in an implementation sense.
Jenny? You're muted.
Put my hand down, sorry.
Oh, you put your hand down. Sorry. Adam, and then Diane.
Oh, I hear what Peter's saying. We can charge them we technically we can't charge the educators to do anything because they're not in our purview. So I think that we want to charge them to join us. I think that kind of balances out this. And I think that maybe instead of joining us in this commitment, we charge them to join us in anti-racist work or something that is not this commitment, but something that defines what we're all doing together. Because
their anti-racist work is different from ours.
Yeah, and they have different levers to pull than we do.
Diane?
Yeah, I was just going to suggest the words, make actionable. I mean, we craft we build the policies, and we set the budget priorities. We don't run the day-to-day operations, but they're really making actionable the tenets and the principles that we lay out.
So
right?
therefore, we charge I like that. Therefore, we charge the educators and school leaders across our district to make this commitment actionable, or to make what actionable? I agree with you, Diane.
The tenets and the principles that we set out.
To make the tenets and principles actionable?
So anyone feel free to improve on that, but that.
No, I like that. Okay, so if everyone is good with that, then put your thumbs up. If you have something else to add to that, then, or change.
Kira's saying no.
Kira?
So first of all, hand in hand has dashes. It's hand dash in dash hand. And then,
there it is.
Yeah, thank you. And then, to be accountable to brave, bold actions that challenge our existing structures and systems. We charge the educators and school leaders across our district. Shouldn't it apply to their classrooms? Or, we charge the educators and school leaders across our district to make these tenets and principles, or to infuse these principles in their practice, or apply them in their practice, or do something else so that it's on that level, it's pervasive, it touches every classroom. You're right that they're outside of our purview, but it's an invitation to be bold and a recognition of their expertise and professionalism. So I would use infuse, or apply, or experiment. I don't even know. I like infuse.
Yeah, I think that the fact that we're saying make this principle the actionable piece, at least in my mind, and I'm not a writer, and English is my second language.
Can I try something?
Disclosure. I think that when we say actionable, we're saying that then the teachers can take it to and make it actionable. At least that's what I hear what you're saying, but I think the actionable piece covers that, but I may just be wrong.
I don't like that it's a dictation on individuals who are experts and professionals. I think that bringing them in, inviting them to be part of it, and recognizing that their work is an art and a science and a practice, and putting that into the language here is a recognition of who they are. And not a dictation from on high. So all those things that you said are correct, but it's just something else. It's not us telling those people to do something. It's recognition and elevation and seeing in the language that will echo.
I like Peter's change. He just wrote invite instead of charge, which is a much nicer verb. We invite.
How about challenge?
Challenges, no.
Yeah.
So my problem with invite is that it doesn't make it as bold a statement. I mean, it just says we invite them and they don't have to participate if they don't want to.
We ask.
So Kira, I understand what you're saying, but to me, tenets and principles are pretty open-ended, and that asking them to make those actionable is respective of the work that they're doing in their classrooms, and using the levers that they would use to to bring these things. I don't know. John, you had your hand up, and then Ellen.
A different way to resolve this would be to say, therefore, we charge the educators and school leaders across our district to embody these tenets and principles. So you get rid of the word actionable, and then you want them to embrace these. Well, or yeah, if you don't like embody, then you could go with embrace. But I see Kira shaking her head.
Because then it's just about, it's about their lifestyle and it's about everything else. Again, I just think there's something about making it so that it's about the professionalism and expertise. Teaching is a practice, an art, and a science. And I think that there can be language in there that recognizes that and gives our teachers the leeway to do that, to practice this and infuse it into their practice. It is an elevation in the invitation.
Adam?
Okay, so I prefer the word charge. I think from the school committee, I think that is a more powerful word to use. So I would say that we charge the school leaders across our district to apply these tenets and principles to their professional practice. And that captures what Kira's trying to say about this is a practice, this is a science, and that we want them to apply it to that.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you so much.
Laura, and then Dawn raised her hand as well.
Say, I didn't pick all of that up.
Sure. So after the words our district to, instead of the word make, we're going to use the word apply. And then instead of the word actionable, we're going to replace that with to their professional practice.
Professional practice.
Yep.
Dawn?
I was going to just suggest compel instead of charge, perhaps.
Kira says no. Kira, what? No? You're muted.
I'm sorry. Keep charge. Charge is so great. It's so great. It's so great. Thank you.
Diane?
I just wanted to ask Peter, and the senior leadership team, like, are we like roping people in to make their professional practice goal? Like, this is kind of like contract languagey, and I'm worried about it. So I need reassurance that this is okay from your perspective.
I hear what you're saying, Diane. I can't say that I didn't think a little bit of the same thing. We charge the educators and school leaders across our district to apply these tenets. I like everything right up to the professional practice piece. Sounds a little too linked to ed eval.
How about in their classrooms?
Well, but it says school leaders. I mean, to be quite honest, I know, Peter, you and I have had lengthy discussions about how, things work and how we move from policy to practice and everything else. And to me, if we really are taking, this, as Amy noted, a big step forward, that I would expect educators to make this part of their professional practice goals. I mean, I don't know how this stuff moves. We aren't sitting in classrooms, and we aren't sitting at meetings with principals, and we aren't in charge in any capacity of that kind of work. And so, we can say all we want at school committee meetings, and we can write policies, but at the end of the day, the impact is going to be in the classrooms. And so, I don't know. That's my feeling.
And Kara, I know I hear what you're saying, but what I'm struggling with right now is if we don't say that we expect them to do this, and I know, at least I have the high school experience. What if teachers decide they don't want to do it? How do we hold them accountable? We're not the ones holding them accountable. And I think that if folks know that it's an and I'm not an educator, so I respect your opinion a lot, but I'm worried that if we don't say that we expect that they do this, we're gonna be bumping against people that say we don't want to do this. And And what do we do with that?
Dawn? Dawn, are you still raising your hand? Yes. Okay. No, you're not raising your hand. Okay. Amy?
I think it needs to be very clear that we are not responsible for holding accountable the teachers in any way. I think that we can charge and say to the administration, we can say, I mean, really within our purview, we can say to Peter, listen, we want you to do these things. And it's his responsibility to pass it down. But ultimately, we can only say that this is what we believe in and this is what we would like. But this is not our purview to demand certain actions from our teachers. That is not. We have no standing to do that. But I do know that we have hired and support administrators that believe in the same things that we believe in, and we just have to step back and trust that these, the people that are in charge are going to follow through.
So then,
Wait, Evelyn, you have to raise your hand because otherwise I can't do it, and like 3 other people still have their hand.
Tessa.
No, it's okay. Adam?
Yeah, so first thing, I want to recognize the challenging position that we put our administrators in right now, because Peter is actively editing a document that is our thoughts and feelings, but it is ultimately going to come down to him to implement. So I think that causes a little bit of discomfort. But that being said, I think I kind of want to dance on both sides of the line here, and with the understanding that our power is limited to policies and superintendent evaluation and budget. I think we need to be bold here and charge the educators and the district leadership, even if it's a somewhat hollow charge, because we all know that we don't have the power to do that. But I think we have to make this statement, because that's what this is. This is not a policy. This is not any binding superintendent evaluation document either. This is our statement. This is our statement to the community and our statement to the teachers. And I think that's how I view this sentence, is under that umbrella.
Nora, John, then Evelyn.
What Adam said, I agree with that. I think I like saying that we charge the educators, because we do, and this isn't policy. This is our statement, and we're saying that it is a goal that we are setting in this statement, that educators and school leaders will take up these principles in their professional practice. That work is already being done. It's that's for Peter to set it as a goal for the district and make it happen, which he's done, already taken those steps. I like it.
John?
In terms of people that we can speak to, Adam sort of intimated that, we can speak to people beyond people that are just strictly part of the school. And in a statement of this type, we can actually also directly address students, and we also have the ability to directly address the community. And regardless of what language you want to use, with respect to students and the community, but it seems to me that there is a place here to say that, we invite the students, to join us in this work, and we invite the community to join us in this work. So I'm not addicted to language, but I think that sort of resolves this, because it becomes clear that, who are we asking to help us do this? That would be everyone.
Kira?
I just want to, I'm such a writer, I'm sorry. I just want to defend charge, in that it's more powerful than an invitation, but it's still not a dictation, right? So we're giving teachers and school leaders, everybody, running room, right? You can interpret that how you want to interpret that. An invitation, it implies an opportunity to completely opt out, which I don't think that we want to do. I think that we want to, in charging, we empower participants to do with this what they will. We also recognize that there are educators in the district who are doing it already, and then we give a pretty big window or door for those who maybe have not stepped completely through or across the threshold yet. It's a beautiful word for this sentence. It's super crazy powerful. Yes, thank you.
Marie?
I just agree. I totally agree, and I don't think there's a problem with the school committee saying this. I don't think there's a contractual problem, et cetera.
Great. Amy, did you have something else? Your hand is up in the thing.
No, I mean, I'm going to follow Marie because she absolutely knows the contract. I think it's important that we hired Peter. You know, we trust in what he's doing. We trust in Marie. We trust in Deb and Dawn and what they're doing. And I think the charge should be to them, and and that we should have a sense of faith and trust that that they're going to do what we very strongly believe in, because we know that they very strongly believe in it too. Okay, fine.
Okay. Diane?
Yeah, I'm not comfortable with professional practice. That's jargon. It's right out of the educator eval. I think, teachers need to have the freedom not to feel pressured, by anybody, including us, to choose that one, because they're all in a different place and they all need to kind of figure out what they need. So I'm going to suggest we say, therefore, we charge the educators and school leaders across our district to infuse these tenets and principles into their practice.
I'm good with that.
Okay, I'm fine with it too.
Could I push one step further on that?
Sure.
I think to infuse it into their practice is the interim step. But what I think we want them to do is to infuse the tenets and principles into our schools and classrooms across our district.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know how you feel about that. And
Yeah.
I'm okay with practice, but I
think I want it to be as strong as it can be without, offending anybody or boxing anyone in. But I do think it's fair for this to be an expectation that the school committee has, and that school, I think this makes a strong statement to school leadership that we support them in their efforts to ensure that this is done. So, therefore, we charge the educators and school leaders across our district to infuse these tenets and principles, whatever you said, Peter.
if people are, yeah.
Yeah, well, write that, and then I think that that's stronger than just practice. Adam? Oh, sorry, Evelyn. Adam, I'm going to call on Evelyn first because she actually used the raise hand feature. So
how about, I just have a suggestion. How about we say, therefore, we charge district leaders to empower educators to infuse the tenants. Because I heard what folks said, that Peter and his team are actually the folks that are supposed to be leading this charge. So therefore, we charge district leaders to empower educators to infuse these tenets and principles into the school and classrooms throughout our district.
I don't know. I think personally, I feel like we're already at that step, and that school leaders have been trying to empower teachers by providing a lot of the tools and things that this work is partially underway. It's not that we're starting from absolute scratch. So to me, this is okay, they've been empowered and now we want them to do it. I don't know. Adam, what do you think?
I hear what you're saying, Evelyn, but I think it's powerful to be speaking directly to the educators. So that's my response to that edit. I like that. The edit that I would make to the back half of this sentence is to make it more possessive. So instead of into the schools and classrooms, I would just leave it as into their schools and classrooms. And that way you speak to each educator and each school and building leader, and that implies that it's in the district. But then it's their work that they're doing in their space.
Marie, are you raising your hand again, or was it still up from before?
Sorry. No.
Okay, so everyone, let's like put our thumbs up for, or whatever, for this, if you agree with it.
Except it doesn't say their school. Oh, that should.
That should say there. Yes, that should say
Powerful. Yes.
You want their or our?
there.
There.
Our. Why not our schools?
Because the charge is
too big.
educators.
Like there.
Too big. The charge is to
All
them.
right. I'm good. I'm good. Fine.
People, you're doing a good job. All right. We recognize the dynamic nature of our student body and the interconnected, multifaceted world they will enter after they leave our campuses. Nora?
Sorry, I was just trying to raise my hand in the thing. This might be.
I see you raising your hand because you're one of the 3 people that I'm looking at. So.
Oh, that's so nice. So I was thinking this would be a good place to add
John's invitation.
Why it's valuable. That we believe that this is something unique and valuable about our school community that is central to the education that we want our students to attain while here, or I don't know, something like that.
After that sentence, instead of that sentence?
After that we recognize the dynamic nature. I like that sentence a lot, and that might be a good place after it to add the positive thing that we were looking for about why it's important for everyone to learn to be anti-racist. It's important because it's the right thing to do. It's also important because it, when we think about the whole student, and I forget the name of the model that we were using about the student.
Yeah, I know.
Picture of a graduate, that it fits in with that.
I agree with you. Who wants to write the sentence?
So,
Kira or Adam, I nominate you guys.
John, what did you have to say? Because this was your
John's idea.
It was John's idea.
yeah, so I think, because this sentence struck me as sort of hanging. So I think we could start the sentence that follows. It says, we invite, our students to help us build an inclusive and loving community.
I like that. And then if you add recognizing that this is Angie said this one time in a previous meeting. I don't remember, Angie, if you remember what you said, but about how we have the opportunity in AB for students to learn how to live in a global community in a world of rich and diversity, something like that sort of language, but words are failing me right now. I'm sorry. Too many great writers in this space. Yeah.
Should we start it by saying, therefore, we invite our students, and then there's a D at the end of build and inclusive.
We already said therefore, so if we want to have a connection where we have to choose something other than therefore, because that's 2 sentences above.
We invite our students to help us build an inclusive end.
Yeah, and.
It says and end. So
No, yeah, and.
Maybe then the next word would be, we invite our students to help us build an inclusive and loving community, recognizing that this is a uniquely valuable aspect of an AB education. And then somebody can make that better.
Kira, you're making all kinds of facial recognition, facial things, and
I
waving
just
your
love that.
hand.
I'm so happy. I'm trying to make it so I'm not like yes, but I was like yes to that addition. That's so great. I love it.
Say, no, that's awful. Like, let me make that beautifully poetic in the way that you can. Okay.
Angie, did you have something that you wanted to contribute?
I just want to say that I was using global citizen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. That was something that we talked about.
Yeah.
In the portrait of a graduate, back when we were talking about that, I remember that was
Recognize the dynamic nature. We invite our students to help us build an inclusive and loving community, recognizing that this is a uniquely valuable aspect of the AP education. All right, I think that that's a lovely sentence. Does anyone want to change that or add to it? It doesn't mean we can't add another sentence too. Or put up your thumbs if you like that sentence and you want to keep it.
Yeah, thumbs up.
All right. Okay. We're almost there, peeps. Almost there. Acton Boxborough has long been a model in the pursuit of excellence in education, and it is important that this pursuit evolve to best serve our increasingly diverse student body and community. Angie, I know you had a thought about this, so I'll let you go first.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So somehow it sounds kind of passive to me. So instead of that, I said, growing to better serve our increasingly diverse student body and community will enable us to continue this pursuit of Acton Boxborough excellence in education for years to come.
Okay, so instead of having, just because there's 3 people with their hands raised, don't change it yet, Peter. We'll listen to what Angie said, then John, then Adam, and then we'll come back to the language itself. John?
Yeah, so I thought that the challenge in the sentence was the use of the word model, because what I thought we were doing was establishing a standard for excellence. So my suggestion is that we would start this out. Acton Boxborough has long set a standard for the pursuit of excellence, and at that point, I'd be good with the rest of it.
Adam?
Yeah, my only comment was I thought there were 2 ideas here, and that we separate the idea of us setting a standard or being a model for the pursuit of excellence from the second thought that it's important we pursue our increasingly diverse student body and to evolve them. So I'm happy to take some of the thoughts that Angie had, but I think it's 2 different sentences.
Amy?
I think Angie had, some really important thoughts. I think I really like what she had to say, that that we will continue to pursue this excellence, and this is only a part of how we are going to improve going forward.
Kira?
I actually wonder if this is if it's appropriate to laud ourselves right now for our excellence and call ourselves a model or pat ourselves on the back in any way, shape, or form. I just wonder if, I understand the why. I'm just not totally convinced that this is the forum. And I agree with Adam that it's 2 separate thoughts. So my suggestion would be to separate the thoughts and maybe perhaps leave one be.
Okay, so I actually think that Angie's language kind of removes that lauding of ourselves and makes it sound a little different. So Angie, why don't you say again for Peter the way that you thought that sentence should read, and then maybe we can move off of that sentence rather than the one that we have now.
My sentence is growing to better serve our increasing diverse student body.
Angie, I'm sorry, I froze for a second there. What was the first word?
Growing.
Yeah,
growing. To better serve our increasingly diverse student body and community will enable us to continue this pursuit of Acton Boxborough excellence in education for years to come. Pursue Acton Boxborough excellent. There's a word excellent in education.
Excellence, Acton Boxborough, excellence in education.
There's a pursuit of excellence in Acton Borough.
Yeah, well, I think let's just play with this sentence to make it sound, if that's the, I think we're getting closer. Kira, you want to wordsmith that? Or is there a part that you still, I agree. I don't know that we should be saying that, it isn't excellence in education for everyone, to be true, to be truthful. And, that's something that Peter and I have talked about a lot, is excellent for who. It is excellent for a portion of our population and not really for everybody. I think it should say something more like striving for excellence, you know, that doesn't fit into the sentence the way it's written, but I think that, John?
I want to push back on this a little bit because, you know, we can always beat ourselves up, and I'm happy to do that, you know, on a very regular basis. But, you know, I like to think about most of this change activity in the sense of we want to be better. I want to make that positive statement, we want to be better. And I don't want to go too far down the road of, you know, intimating that we're bad. I mean, it's clear there are some things that are bad. There are some things that suck, you know, but judged against all of the things in the world, against some reasonable standard, we're doing a decent job. We can do a much better job, and there's certainly students for which we need to do a really much better job. But I think it's okay to feel, you know, some sense of pride in what we've done, while at the same time being completely dissatisfied with where we are.
Adam?
I guess my first question is to Angie about the word growing. I'm curious what you mean by that, and maybe suggest instead of growing to better serve, we strive to better serve.
Growing to me is that because we need to make changes, right? So growing is changes. We need to change. We're making a change now.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I feel like this sentence, though, where it is in the paragraph, is one that wants to sort of conclude the thought, and the idea of needing to make a change to meet the diverse needs of our students is almost like a new idea above and beyond what the thought of this paragraph was about.
We're making all these changes, right? We're making all the changes so that we are able to serve our diverse student body, right?
Yeah, so I think then that instead of growing, I think a more active way to say this is we strive to better serve our increasingly diverse student body.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so take out growing and change it to we strive to better serve our increasingly diverse student body and community, and maybe put a period and not say anything and not say anything about the excellence, because I don't know that it even has a place here. I don't think it's saying that we're bad if we take it out. I just think that it is a little bit more honest.
I like that. I think it's short and sweet, and it ends the thought of the paragraph as a whole.
So, Peter, you can also take out where it says the sentence Acton Boxborough. You can just delete that. And then this does really become, we've invited our students, it becomes about us and what our commitment is. We strive to better serve our increasingly diverse student body and community. Okay. Is there anything else that we need to add to that paragraph? Okay. I think just make that go, yeah. Delete it till it gets to, there you go. All right. Okay, so the last sentence is we renew our steadfast commitment to the students of the Acton Boxborough Regional School District and their families, and affirm that we seek to serve them to the best of our ability. Yes, Adam?
I think we need to reaffirm, because affirm would imply that we've never done it before.
Okay.
I agree.
Yep, right.
All right. Is there anybody that wants to add anything else to this? Marie, I can't see, so let me know if there's anybody that does. I don't see.
You're good.
You're good? Okay. Okay. So I'm okay with if people don't want to vote on this, although it would be pretty anticlimactic if we didn't, given the amount of work that just went into this.
I want to vote.
I move we vote.
Okay. Then make your motion.
I don't know how to do that.
I move
I'm sorry.
the
I'm
Acton
so
Boxborough Regional School Committee endorse this statement as presented by Peter Screen.
Thank you.
Double second.
Okay, so Peter, would you mind stopping the sharing of your screen so that I can actually see everybody so I can do the vote? Thanks. Okay. All right, we will do a roll call vote. Nora,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Adam,
Yes, with gratitude.
Evelyn,
Yes, with gratitude to my community. Peace and love.
Amy,
Yes, and happy holidays. Thank you guys so much.
Diane,
Yes, and I hope that Peter's screen isn't in the actual motion, but yes.
Angie,
Yes.
Kira,
Yes, with gratitude.
Ginny,
Yes.
and myself. Yes, and I have to say that was an incredible presentation of working together, and I'm really proud of all of us for being able to pull that together. Yes, John.
Can I just jump in? I'm sorry, John. I'm sorry.
You
Yes.
can't because John raised his hand.
All right, can I jump in after John?
Yes.
Amy.
John.
I wanted to say thank you. Three very special thank yous. One, thank you, Tessa, for arranging this special meeting, which was a super important activity. And then, I want to make the statement that I think everybody wanted to make, which is just the simplest statement. Thank you, Kira. It is great to have you here. Thank you, Evelyn. It is great to have you here. And then, because of course, I have an editorial comment. I did, of course, take your draft through the.
I know you did. I saw that you sent me
the readability checker, and it clocks in at a college level thing. And I'm pleased to say I checked my statement. It clocked in at grade 8. And the reason that I mentioned that, it's important because we spent a lot of time on these words, and for the 7 people that hung in there to the end, some of the details of the words matter. But when we go out into the community, we need to, when we can, find simple, direct language, that everybody can hear and understand.
Amy?
I have been on this committee. This is my 8th year. I could not possibly express how proud I am of the fact that we have an incredibly diverse committee. We have completely different experiences, completely different viewpoints, and yet we have all come together in this really amazing way. And I'm so proud that to be a part of this. I'm so proud to be part of this committee and what we're doing here. And I believe that it will have a lasting impact on our kids throughout this community.
Thank you to everyone. Thank you for giving up this, what started as vacation for our kids many hours ago. And so I appreciate the fact that everyone gave their time to come to this meeting and to do, yes, Nora?
I'm sorry to interrupt that. I'm just realizing that Yevin's not here, and I'm feeling like he didn't get to participate in this. And did we want a unanimous vote? And does it make sense to, how does that happen?
So Yevin did express in an email that he was incredibly sorry that he couldn't attend this meeting. We don't hold votes other times. I think that, Yevin has expressed his support for the sentiments that have been shared by everybody. And I think that he would be in support of this statement and all the hard work that went into it. And I appreciate you acknowledging that he isn't here, but he has expressed in an email that he was sorry to miss this and that he was in support of what the committee is trying to. Okay.
Great.
So anyway, thank you, everybody. I know we have to do a roll call vote, Beth, to adjourn. Yes.
Motion to adjourn?
No.
Beth. Oh, no.
Beth.
So how are we distributing this? Do you want me to post it on the website? Do you want me to send it to the boards of selectmen, the FinCom, how I usually distribute an agenda, or do you want to let me know tomorrow?
I think it should be distributed the same way that all of the other statements were distributed, which is widely. And if I believe that we should send it to the community, because I don't think it should get buried. And I know that only 7 people have, I'm very appreciative that they've hung in to watch the committee meeting, but I do know that this was a tough time for everybody. So I think it should be sent out the way all the other statements have been sent out.
I will do that. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, John.
One of the issues is, and just as you noted, we're going into the holiday week, so this can get lost in a lot of other activity. So I'm hoping that not only will we distribute it now contemporaneously with a vote, but that as we start the new year, we can find a way to refresh these sentiments.
Okay, Kira, now I will take your motion.
Motion to adjourn, please, and happy holidays.
Second. And happy holidays.
I know how to second. I can do that.
All right, now we're doing the roll call vote. Nora. Nora?
Yes.
You have to, yeah, okay. John?
Yes.
Adam?
Yes.
Evelyn?
Yes, with gratitude.
Amy?
Yes, happy holidays.
Diane?
Yes, and strong work, Tessa.
Thank you.
Indeed.
Angie?
Yes, happy holidays.
Kira?
Yes, happy holidays.
Jenny?
Yes.
And myself. Thank you to everyone. I really appreciate it. I hope everyone has a wonderful break and a happy holiday if you celebrate.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Tessa. Thank you so much, Tessa. You're amazing.